Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've spent any time at all organizing in an anarchist commune, or really any horizontal collective, you know the deal. The hardest part isn't necessarily getting the project off the ground, it's keeping it horizontal, right? Today we're unpacking a really fascinating source document on Coops management. It's essentially a framework that's completely designed to structure daily production without accidentally reproducing a hierarchy. Think of this explainer as a survival guide for cultivating a healthy, self-sustaining ecosystem. We're going to dig into how this document lays out community agreements that ensure power doesn't concentrate in the hands of a few and that the means of production literally serve the entire collective. Okay, let's dive right in. So here's the million-dollar question. How do you actually run a business or any productive enterprise without bosses? It's the central problem this material tackles. How do you organize daily production without accidentally creating a permanent new class of managers? For those of us living and working in these non-hierarchical spaces, we know all too well that bosses or even just informal hierarchies can creep back in like weeds if you aren't constantly paying attention. Well, this document provides a super specific mechanical blueprint to stop those weeds from taking root. All right, let's look at Section 1, the macro ecosystem. This is all about councils and the big picture. To really grasp this blueprint, you have to understand the two main councils the document outlines. Think of these as the climate and the farm within our ecosystem analogy. The municipal council is your macro-level climate. This includes everyone in the commune, kind of like a neighborhood assembly, and it's there to make sure that whatever a specific cooperative is doing actually aligns with the community's broader needs. Then, on the flip side, you have the general council. This is the farm itself. It's made up of all the cooperative members, and they're the ones getting their hands dirty with the day-to-day operations and scheduling. So it's where the broad, community-wide strategy meets the daily dirt. Moving right along to Section 2, fences and boundaries, basic terms for administration. Every healthy ecosystem needs fences to keep out predators, right? Well, in this case, the predators are hierarchy and centralized power. To keep them out, this framework relies on some incredibly strict community agreements. Take this number, for instance, 60%. The document mandates that a 60% majority vote is absolutely required to approve any cooperative decisions. It's not just a simple 51% majority, which, let's be honest, usually leaves half the group frustrated and unhappy. No, this demands a much clearer consensus, actively pushing the community to genuinely find common ground before they move forward on a project. Here is another incredibly crucial number, 1. Only one member per family is allowed to attain membership in a specific cooperative. Now, if you've been in a close-knit collective, you know it is so easy for a single family or even just a tight group of friends to slowly take over the administration of a project. Before you know it, you've got a mini dynasty or an informal hierarchy running the show. This rule is a hard boundary. It stops that specific weed from taking root before it even has a chance by strictly preventing the familial monopolization of power. And look at that, the number 1 pops up again, this time for terms of service. Commission terms last exactly 1 year. Not only that, but an individual can only hold membership in one commission at a single time. And to take it a step further, you cannot simultaneously sit on multiple oversight commissions. You get one role for one single year. The goal here is simple. Power has to be kept fluid. It cannot be allowed to become static. Let's jump to Section 3, the vital organs, cooperative commissions. So inside the Coop itself, daily administration is broken down into 3 vital organs. First, you have the Administrative Commission. Think of this as the nervous system. They're the ones actively implementing resolutions. Second is the Financial Commission, the circulatory system, managing the funds and the daily records. And finally, the Follow-up Commission. This is basically the immune system, monitoring everything to make sure decisions are actually being carried out. Now, according to the source material, these 3 organs must be kept entirely separate to prevent systemic disease, or in our case, power hoarding. I mean, it makes sense, right? You absolutely do not let the exact same person who is spending the money be the one auditing the money. It's a structural guarantee that transparency and mutual aid protocols are baked right into daily practice. But obviously, these separate organs still need to talk to each other. That's where the Cooperative Coordination Council steps in. This council is made up of 3 members from each cooperative and 3 from each commission, and they get together monthly to evaluate reports. This is the tissue that connects the nervous, circulatory, and immune systems, making sure the whole body is operating in total harmony without ever letting any single system take total control of the organism. Okay, Section 4, Soil Health, the power of task rotation. If you plant the exact same crop in the exact same field year after year after year, what happens? You completely destroy the soil. Well, the document treats cooperative tasks the exact same way.
Using an agricultural example, work roles have to rotate seasonally. So maybe you spend some time planting, then later in the year, you're harvesting. After that, you do tool maintenance, and finally, you spend a season reviewing the accounting books. This is a highly deliberate design. It ensures nobody gets stuck out in the sun doing only manual labor. And conversely, nobody gets to just sit comfortably in an office doing accounting all year long. By rotating everyone, it explicitly dismantles the formation of a permanent class of managers.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Okay, but what about highly technical tasks, like engineering or medicine? You obviously can't just rotate a random person into being a doctor for a season. The source anticipates this and addresses it through what they call assistive rotation. First off, there have to be robust training programs in place to continuously spread knowledge. Second, the specialists are always shadowed by apprentice. This ensures that knowledge hoarding, which is a huge source of informal power, is actively prevented. But most importantly, the rule states that every single member, totally regardless of their specialized skill level, has to contribute to both intellectual and manual work. Next up, Section 5, Pruning and Accountability, Metrics and Financial Losses. A truly self-sustaining ecosystem doesn't just grow wildly unchecked. It needs strict pruning to keep it from collapsing under its own weight. In this model, that pruning starts with something called the daybook. When you first join the cooperative, entry is typically based on labor, and there's a 1-year probation period. The daybook meticulously records the exact hours and the specific tasks carried out by every single member. Now, in this framework, this isn't about some toxic corporate micromanagement. It's actually a highly transparent tool for mutual accountability. It's there to ensure perfectly fair payment based on a credit hour system. You get out exactly what you put in, no free rides, but also no exploitation. So what happens if things actually go sideways? What if the cooperative loses money? Well, the pruning measures outlined here are severe, and they escalate fast. If there is a financial loss in year 1, boom, the administrators are immediately replaced. If there's a loss again in year 2, the wider municipal council steps in for problem identification, and they can even initiate the dissolution of the entire Coop. If financial losses happen in later years, the financial and administrative commissions are completely wiped out and replaced, and the members of those commissions face an automatic 2-year ban from rejoining them. And honestly, it gets even stricter than that. The absolute harshest accountability measure in the entire document is this. If specific members are found directly responsible for 2 consecutive financial losses, they face a 10-year ban from holding any position in either the administrative or financial commissions. A whole decade. It's a fascinating mechanism because it guarantees that incompetence, or worse, corruption, cannot just be endlessly shuffled around from committee to committee. If you badly mismanage the community's resources, you simply lose the privilege of managing them for a very, very long time. Finally, Section 6, the harvest, keeping the commune sovereign. We've looked at the layered consoles, the strict boundary fences, the seasonal task rotations, and those heavy pruning mechanisms. I want to read this quote literally directly from the source's commentary because it perfectly summarizes the ultimate goal of this entire bossless model. It says, "No single group accumulates disproportionate power. The commune as a whole, not just isolated Coops, remains the sovereign owner of the means of production." This framework is so meticulously designed to ensure that a cooperative doesn't just slowly morph into a new private corporation. Instead, it is forced to remain a vital, deeply accountable organ of the wider collective. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a question to chew on. How are you going to apply these fences and crop rotations to dismantle hierarchies in your own community? The blueprint is right here in front of us. The 1-year term limits, the strict separation of commissions, the assistive rotation for specialists. The practical tools to build and protect a bossless ecosystem absolutely exists. The real question is, how will you plant the seeds? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this deep dive into the mechanics of cooperative, horizontal organizing gives you plenty to think about and discuss with your own collectives. Catch you next time.